Why do we snack? Because we have nothing better to do? Well, people who snack on almonds have something better to do. Almonds are heart healthy and full of energy, with the crunch that keeps you in the game. California almonds. Crunch on.
This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast on ESPNradio.com. The Best of Mike and Mike.
Hey, it's Golick. Thanks for checking out the podcast. Here's what we have for you today. Jim Harbaugh on the move from San Francisco to Ann Arbor. Big three-way trade in the NBA. What does that mean? And who should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Mike and Mike.
On Twitter while we were away yesterday, we spent so much of the day. And again, our heartfelt thanks to everybody for the nice messages we got before, during, and after yesterday's show. It was the least we could do to spend most of yesterday talking about our friend Stewart. And, you go back to, for lack of a better word, you go back to doing the show normally now because there isn't any better idea. I don't have a better idea, and I can't think of one.
Nope.
Better than just sort of going back to what we do.
That's what Stu. Stu's up there. Get on with it, people.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Of course.
Get back to it.
I mean, it doesn't feel the same, but eventually it will. But one way or another, I did tweet while I was away on my vacation when Harbaugh gets the Michigan job,
right,
and Urban Meyer pulls off this miracle. I mean, what they've done is a miracle with Ohio State.
I mean, incredible.
And Urban Meyer, I think, is cementing himself as an all-time great college coach, and I think this particular season he's done one of the great coaching jobs of all time. And I said, you could make an argument, and I got summarily yelled at for it. You could make an argument that right now, the best coach in the NFL and the best coach in college football have now both become the head coaches of the biggest rivalry in sports, which is to say, I think you could argue that during the last 4 years, Jim Harbaugh was the best coach in the National Football League. I would. Now, I think overall, Bill Belichick is the best coach. Yes. But if you just look at what they've done.
He did in his body of work, for what the team was when it got there to where it was. Well, this year wasn't so good, but the three first
but when
years.
they cratered, they won 8-8, right? That was their crater.
Right. I'm with you.
And the 3 years before that, they won double-digit games, and this is a team that had been awful forever. This past year they just had was one you would have dreamt about in San Francisco before Jim Harbaugh got there. And then Urban Meyer, I think you could make an argument. I think in the big picture, most people would say, if you just close your eyes and say who's the best coach in college football, you'd say Nick Saban.
You would say Nick Saban, yes.
How far behind him could Urban Meyer have been even before this? And look now, Meyer won 2 championships down in Florida. He's won lost a combined total of 0 Big Ten games since he got to
Even look what he
State.
did at Utah when he was there. I mean, Urban Meyer's track record has been, resume is incredible. And now, they set up to face each other every year. So that part of it absolutely couldn't be better. And the Big Ten, which was getting crushed all year, is making a lot of people eat their words right now. We'll see how much that goes into the future with these two guys.
Well, I'll say this. A lot of people crushing the SEC for their terrible performance in the bowl games, and it was terrible. And I get that, because people love to do that. The SEC is put up on such a wonderful, this huge pedestal, and people love to take shots at that. That's fine. I have zero issue with that. They deserve it. But the truth is that to judge a conference based upon its performance in these outlier games is really not a sensible way to judge a conference. That's not to say these games are meaningless, but they are actually, in their own way, less meaningful than the games that have come before them. It's the opposite of all the other sports. It's counterintuitive. In college football this year, there were a combined total of 3 playoff games. And all the rest of them were glorified exhibitions. That's what they are. You can take them for what they are. You can enjoy them. The players take them seriously. They want to win.
Well, I disagree with that a bit. I mean, they're games that set up who's going to play in those 3 playoff games, or at least the first 2. So they're more than exhibitions. But
no. What I'm talking about is the other bowl games. I'm talking about all these other bowl games are basically glorified. There were 3 playoff games, the 2 that we saw and the one that's coming up Monday. That's deciding a championship. What playoffs do is decide a champion. The rest of these are just kind of rewards. They're celebrations of a nice season. Go out and celebrate and get your fans go, take theoretically a nice trip, although some of them are not the most glamorous locations anymore. The point I'm making is they're not playoff games. So I think different teams handle them differently. I don't think it's a good way. What I'm saying is I don't think we all of a sudden say, you know what, the Big Ten was a whole lot better than, and this is speaking as a Big Ten guy. I don't think we all of a sudden say, you know what, the Big Ten was a whole lot better than we thought it was because Wisconsin beat Auburn and Michigan State beat Baylor and, a crazy comeback win. I don't think those two things necessarily hold.
I said this exact same thing Wednesday.
But I said it better.
You actually didn't because it was a bit convoluted.
Yeah,
but,
well, I am the master of using 1,000 words where one may have sufficed.
But you're right. I never thought the Big Ten was as bad as people were saying, and I never thought the SEC was a NFL division just playing in college football. So there are those that went that far on either ends, and I never thought that. And bowl games can be different for different reasons of where players can be, where coaches can be. And you're absolutely right. Outside of the big bowls, the best bowl, Central Michigan and Western Kentucky. They played in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Okay? As a player, listen, if I'm not going to the best bowl, I want to pick my bowl.
Yeah.
I want to be somewhere warm and nice. The Popeyes Bahamas Bowl.
Oh, it's a good one.
Understand what we're talking. And people said, oh, go look, there were 12 people there. So what? I would have been there eating Popeye's chicken.
Right.
In my thong on the beach.
It's a double win. It's a win-win.
Are you kidding me?
Completely agree with you.
Oh, my God.
It's delightfully tasty.
Beg for that bowl.
I can't disagree with the word you're saying. The Popeye's chicken is delightfully tasty.
Delightfully tasty. And you can eat it while you're
Dare I go so far as to say it's got a little zing.
Oh, it does.
And you can enjoy it on the beach in the Bahamas. Rather, didn't you play in the Liberty Bowl?
I played the Liberty
Bowl.
Bowl.
Didn't it snow?
It wasn't. No. It didn't snow. It was an ice storm.
It was iced.
We played on. They actually threw straw on the sidelines to melt the ice. This is where I went. Now, I will say, my senior year, we did play in Hawaii.
Oh,
the bowl.
And that's a good bowl.
So that was nice. Got into a little trouble. Man, we had some fun.
The only thing better than the Popeye's Chicken Bahamas Bowl for Golic would have been the Hershey's Chocolate Hawaiian Bowl.
Oh, let me tell you, you're not kidding. But I'm not kidding you. That's what players are. If they're not playing in the big game or the big bowls, if you want to see, even include the New Year's Six, if you're not playing in one of those, oh my God! I mean, you want to be somewhere warm,
right?
And you want to play pretty quick.
And let me also explain one thing, because every once in a while, things that you don't think need to be explained need to be explained. When they started announcing all of the bowls, I said on Twitter, because people immediately say, oh, there's too many bowls, there's too many bowls. Why does it bother anyone that there are too many bowls? It doesn't make any sense to me. If you're not interested in watching the bowl, don't watch it.
Don't watch it.
But why does it bother you that there is a bowl game being played? And people then try to throw back at me, well, Greeny, you're the one who says there shouldn't be more teams in the playoffs. Hold on. That's the point. These aren't playoffs. Playoffs are something that are used to determine a champion. That's why there are too many teams in the NCAA tournament. Now, the NCAA tournament is great, and they allow a bunch of little conference teams in there to give them a shot to have their one moment in time.
First couple of weeks, we get that Cinderella story.
I'm all good with that. Give them their one shining moment. I'm good with that. But at the end of the day, we're really picking 32 teams or whatever to play for the championship. And to me, even that's too many. But I'll live with it.
And it's great.
And it's fun. And the tournament itself is obviously tremendous.
Yes.
My point is, I do not want more teams in the NFL or in basketball. You're going to be like basketball and hockey, where half the teams are playing for a championship. Which means if half the teams are getting into the postseason to play for a championship, why did we bother with all of this regular season before? In college football, the teams that were playing in the Belk Bowl and the Bahamas Bowl and all the other ones, they're not in a playoff.
No.
They're not playing for the right to go to anywhere, to go to a championship. They're just playing a glorified exhibition.
For the coaches, they get extra practices, which they want. For the players, they get to go somewhere nice.
So there's absolutely no downside.
Right.
So that is the difference for those who did not suggest that there was no difference.
We agree.
Okay. All right, Mike and Mike, we have a couple of big things on the docket today. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. They'll compare rates for you at Progressive, so you get the best deal, even if it's not with Progressive, saving you time and money. Now that's Progressive. Call or click today. We took longer with that than I meant to, so you tell me, you want to go to Dan Le Batard's baseball theory, which we're doing today, or you want to go to the trade?
No, I want to go. Should we talk about?
All right, we'll get to the trade.
Yeah,
we'll get to the trade. Let's start with this.
Let's start with Dan.
Let's start by, we're going to carry on where Dan Le Batard left off a year ago.
Yep.
All right, so Dan Le Batard, our friend,
beauty is we won't get in trouble like he did.
No, we will not have
we won't lose
our membership in the Baseball Writers Association of America status revoked, because we don't have it to begin with.
There you go. You can't lose what you don't have.
Right. We are not members of the Baseball Writers Association of America, so they can't take our ballot away.
But we're going to act like them right
Parenthetically,
now.
we don't have a ballot either.
No.
But this afternoon, they will announce the members of the Baseball Hall of Fame class of the year 2015. And it is going to be a star-studded class, because there are a lot of really exciting names on the ballot. Randy Johnson is on the ballot. He's a lock. Pedro Martinez is on the ballot. He's a lock. John Smoltz is on the ballot. I believe he will get in.
I agree.
Mike Piazza has been creeping towards it. I think he's going to get in.
Craig Biggio just missed it last year.
I believe Biggio will get in. So we have the potential to have a 5-member class. There, of course, also remain the names Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, Jeff Bagwell. Tim Raines has been on the ballot a long time. And so what I did, because every voter gets to choose 10 names,
right.
I chose 10. I chose what I thought were the 10 likeliest / most interesting candidates.
Right. Not really happy I wasn't involved in that choosing, but I'm going to let it go.
Well, we had a meeting yesterday to talk about it.
Oh.
You didn't do anything, so I just decided to do
know we
it.
had a meeting.
So here's what I did. They are up on, each one of them has their own ballot right now on my Twitter page at ESPN Greeny. And you can vote for or against Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, John Smoltz, Mike Piazza, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Craig Biggio, Jeff Bagwell, Curt Schilling, and Tim Raines. I put those 10 each on there individually. And it's one of these deals where retweet for yes, favorite for no. We will keep track of the ballot all day long. You need 75% to get in. And at the end of today's program, so right when we get to the end of the show today, a little less than 4 hours from now, we will submit to no one because we don't have a vote.
But we'll submit it. We'll get it out there.
But we will tell you
what your vote is.
Your vote. The Mike
Your
and
vote.
Mike listeners
I think
will have their class.
I think it's a great
for the Hall
idea.
of
So I
Fame.
like how you did it individually for each one on
Each
your
one.
Twitter. So what I did is I retweeted it out on mine. So I'll get it out on mine as well. So we'll get it out there to as many people as we can and let you vote.
Wait.
Yeah.
I don't understand what you're saying. You retweeted
I mean,
my tweets?
I do that a lot. I told you I'm a retweeter. So you put that out.
No, I understand
you
that,
want
but-
people to vote, so I retweeted them all onto my feed. So, my followers.
But you realize that a retweet is a vote for yes.
No, I retweeted to get it out to the people who follow me.
No.
So we could cover more people.
I
more
understand
bases.
that. I understand.
Okay.
I understand what your thinking was.
Yeah.
But recognize that by retweeting, that
Right.
counts. Should I just subtract one retweet in the
Yeah,
percentage?
those weren't votes. It was just retweeting. I just retweeted it to get it on my feed. I wasn't voting. That wasn't a vote. It wasn't a vote. We're going to do our talk about voting.
No, I get
and
it.
then
I
at the end
get
of the
it.
show,
Yeah.
I'll do my voting. So that wasn't a vote. That was just a retweet.
All right. So once you exit the booth, the vote has been counted. I mean, all right. We'll live with that because we're going to get enough votes that Golik's one somewhat thoughtless retweet is hopefully not going to skew the percentages. I tell you right now, if Curt Schilling makes it by one vote, he's got you to thank. But anyway, we've got the 10 of them up there, and we will just do. We're going to put our math skills to the test today. I'm very
I like
bad at
that.
this. But just going back, because I put, for example, right now, Randy Johnson, we're at the very beginning of this. They're all up there against each individually on ESPN Greeny and I guess now also at ESPN Golik.
Yes, I retweeted him out there so you can vote on mine as well.
Right now, Randy Johnson has 656 retweets and 26 favorites. So we'll figure out the percentages. Biz is going to be awfully busy with the abacus today.
A retweet is a
650
yes?
is a yes, and the favorite is a no. By the way, for those of you who would
never
suggest
liked this.
Okay, let me say something. For those who would suggest that it is skewed towards yes because retweeting is something people are more prone to do than favoriting, I would like to stop that. That was the case. And about a month or so ago, I detected a subtle shift in the Twitter sphere.
You have your hand on the pulse of Twitter sphere?
Yes, I do. I am on Twitter 24 hours a day.
That's true.
And I have determined that there has been a shift away from the retweet toward the favorite. Where I used to, when I would tweet something that got a lot of reaction, it would get, I'm making up a number here, 1,500 retweets and 450 favorites.
Well, why is it?
It's now gone the other way.
I don't understand. I mean,
I guess it used to be. I feel like in the last month or so, there's been a subtle change from if I like something I see on Twitter, instead of retweeting it, I favorite it.
Oh, okay.
People have gotten much more inclined to favorite than to retweet.
I thought you meant when we asked them to do one or the other to answer questions.
No, this is just a general thought. I tweet, Golik is a big, fat, dumb idiot. And then people will either retweet it or favorite it. It used to get like 1,000 retweets and 124 favorites.
And
now those numbers have been reversed.
Are they? See, I never favorite. I only retweet.
I have taken to favoriting because I want to go with the trend. This is clearly where it's going. Obviously, I missed a meeting because this was discussed by someone. It can't have just happened on its own.
Okay, I'm going to sound. I am not on Twitter nearly as much as you.
Well, no one is on Twitter nearly as much as you.
That's true. Well, I think there are some, but you're right up there. I retweet to get it out to other people. Isn't just favoriting just says you like the tweet.
Correct.
I don't. Who cares?
Does that person need to see that I liked the tweet?
It
is. I'll say this. My kids are on Instagram and not on Twitter. And they are obsessed with how many likes their pictures get, particularly Stevie. So the favorite is the Instagram like.
My kid's 25, 24, 20. That doesn't change.
Yeah, still obsessed with it. Right. Yeah. If Stevie puts a picture up and it doesn't get as many likes as he wants, he takes it down. Yeah. that didn't get enough likes. So that's what that is. And plus, you can look on anyone's Twitter page, as I'm sure you know, and see what they favorited. So, A, be careful what you favorite, because we've seen a lot of people get in trouble.
Right.
B, you can accidentally favorite things very easily, especially on your phone with your big fat fingers. Yep. So be careful about that.
I don't favorite things.
But C, most importantly, for today, going all the way back to the beginning of this conversation, we are going to let you, without getting anyone thrown out of the Baseball Writers Association, because we know how incredibly important the work they are doing there is. There are basically cancer doctors, and then there's the baseball writers and the work they're doing. So they had to throw Dan Le Batard out of the association last year because he dared to let others cast a vote for him. We're going to let you vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame today. So Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, John Smoltz, Mike Piazza, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Craig Biggio, Jeff Bagwell, Curt Schilling, and Tim Raines.
And so understand, those 10 people retweet for yes, favorite for no. I retweeted out to all of my followers, but it wasn't a vote. It was just a retweet, so discount that. Get
so
it?
When you see the numbers next to retweet, subtract one. Golick's didn't count.
You know what?
The fact that didn't occur to you is hilarious.
But, I mean, I can't.
Yes, you can. You can vote. You can favorite if you don't think a guy should get in.
Oh, I guess I have to favorite now because I'm not going to do 10 yeses.
So for example, right now, Tim Raines, it's running 2-1 no. He's getting shellacked. Curt Schilling is not going to have, as of right now, doesn't have the percent. Jeff Bagwell is getting shellacked. Craig Biggio is running ahead, but I don't think he's got 75%. Roger Clemens is exactly even. Exactly 50-50. Bear in mind, you need to get 75% to get in.
One of my questions about this is, does Biggio get – he was so close last year, so close. Does it now cost him because of the lock first-year guys? I have a feeling
you get to vote for 10, so it shouldn't.
I know.
And the way these things have always worked in the past.
I know it shouldn't, but you know how the baseball writers think at times. So I don't know. I don't know that. I'm just wondering.
I think he's going to get in. If you ask me what's going to happen today, or my prediction or my vote.
Deserves to get in.
Because my vote and my prediction are two totally different things. I'll predict for you what I think is going to happen, and then I'll tell you what I would vote for if I could. Again, these are not our votes today.
No,
these are yours. With the exception of Golick's senseless retweets. These are your votes.
So obviously you get to decide if the PED people get to go in the Hall of Fame. And that's whether they were guilty, whether they were rumored, or whether they had back knee.
Right. Exactly.
You get to decide.
You have one of each of those on this ballot. So speaking of the back knee, where is Piazza? He is at 792 yes and 384 no. I don't think that's 75%. I'm not real good at simple math.
What was it again?
It's not. There's no way that's 75%. It's like 66%-ish. John Smoltz right now is running away and hiding with the yes vote.
You got to think
Pedro Martinez running away. Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez are locks. Locks.
Quite honestly, I think Smoltz is in.
So do I. I believe he should.
But the two absolute, I'm with you. I
would vote for Bonds and I would vote for Clemens.
I would too. Yes, I would.
Let's make that clear. I would vote for both of them.
We have always said that, and I will stick by it.
I would vote for Schilling.
I think Schilling loses out because of the class.
I don't think Schilling is going to get in.
No, I do not either.
But I would vote for Schilling.
Mike and Mike. Mike and Mike.
Okay, let's crunch on with our friend Chris Broussard, NBA analyst extraordinaire, on a three-way deal that I just went through all the details of. He's on the Subway Fresh Take hotline. So, Broussard, let's start with the Cleveland side of this. Dion Waiters, for whatever reason, and you, I'm sure, have better insight into it than I do, it just wasn't a fit this year with the new-look Cavaliers. There seems to have been trouble from the very beginning, and now they bring in J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert. In your view, how much better will this make the Cavaliers at a time in the season when it starts to really make a difference?
Well, they certainly added talent. You know, they needed a wing defender. We know defense has been a big problem for them. Iman Shumpert, when he gets healthy, will give them that. So it strengthens them defensively. J.R. Smith is somewhat similar to Dion Waiters in that he can be an offensively explosive player off the bench. The thing is, Smith is probably a better spot-up shooter than Waiters, and that'll help when you got other guys like LeBron James penetrating giving him the ball. A lot of people around the league feel like with a strong locker room with leaders like LeBron and Sean Marion and some veterans like that, that J.R. Smith will be on his best behavior and, you'll get a good basketball player. So talent-wise, it helps them. The question is going to be egos, fitting these guys in. When they're not getting Shumpert and Smith the minute that they may want, how are they going to handle it? So they added a lot of ego and testosterone into that locker room, but they also brought in more talent.
We talk about LeBron and his playing skills. It's obvious what you get there. But let's go to leadership a little bit. Now, when he was in Miami, you have Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, leaders in their own right, and were leaders on their respective teams before they all got together. Now here in Cleveland, you have a young Kyrie Irving. You do have Kevin Love, who's been around for a little bit. Is more of the load on LeBron to be an actual leader now? And is he or can he be an in-your-face guy if he needs to?
Well, there's no question he has to be more of a leader than he did in Miami. And he went out to try to get veterans there, Mike Miller, Sean Marion, James Jones, guys that could help him, but none of those guys are really playing that much and certainly aren't stars. So ultimately, it's going to fall on LeBron, and that is what people are asking around the league. As you said, in Miami, he was clearly the best player, but Dwayne, with his strength of his personality, even though he wasn't always a vocal guy, LeBron was more vocal, Dwayne was like the calming force of leadership in that locker room. And LeBron has to prove that he can do that to the point of leading a team to a championship. His leadership so far this year has been, up and down. At times it's been okay. At other times it's been bad. He said a lot of things about helping teach these guys how to win. But then at times, even by his own admission, his body language has been poor. He has to buy in more to what David Blatt has been, teaching. Because whether you agree with it or not, if the leader of your team, the best player, shows that he's on board with the coach, everyone's going to fall in line. And so this is a great test for LeBron James, not only this year, but moving forward, to him not only winning a championship, but being the leader who can galvanize guys and lead them to a title.
When we get to the playoffs, Chris Broussard, is David Blatt still going to be the coach of the Cavs?
I think he will. I don't take that endorsement from David Griffin the other day lightly. A lot of people would say, it's the vote of confidence. It means he's a dead man walking and all that. But the owner, Dan Gilbert, hired David Blatt. And I don't mean he just signed the contract and agreed to the numbers. He wanted David Blatt. There was a point where David Griffin, the GM, thought Tyronn Lue was going to be the head coach. But Gilbert wanted David Blatt. Remember, he's paying Mike Brown $4 million for the next 3+ seasons, each of the next 3+ seasons. And he fired him after a year. The last thing he wants to do is fire another coach after less than a season. So I think they're going to try to give Blatt an opportunity. And look, it's a tough situation for Blatt. I mean, first of all, you get a lot of new players at the beginning of the season. Great players now, no less. A lot of coaches would like to have these problems. But it's challenging to work all of that talent and guys who've been used to being the man and having the ball and playing a lot of minutes, bring them all together. It's tough. And now you're starting all over again with two really strong personalities and guys who, especially Smith, had some issues in the locker room and on the court and off the court. So it's a challenge for Blatt, but I do think he'll survive at least the season.
So let's go to the Knicks now, who clear more cap space. I think at last count they're at $4.3 billion they have to spend next year. But they're doing exactly what they wanted to do. Maybe people didn't think they'd be as bad as they were on the court. But whether you finish ninth or last, it doesn't really matter if you were going to be bad this year, setting up for next year. All that said, all the cap space they have, the ability they have to go get some people, I still come back to this question, Chris. Are they going to be able to convince big-time players to come to New York?
Well, I don't think they will this upcoming summer. Mark Gasol, LaMarcus Aldridge, Rajon Rondo, those will be the big names. Maybe Kevin Love, or, if it ends badly in Cleveland, theoretically he could be on the market. But I don't see them getting any of those guys. I think that what you're going to have to see is them waiting until the next summer in 2016 when, they're going to try to go after Kevin Durant, and as are a lot of people, including probably the Lakers. But I think you're going to be looking at them kind of getting short-term contracts this season and this summer, and then trying to really make that splash in 2016. The problem is, look, we've seen this before. Remember 2010, it was all about getting LeBron or Bosh or Wade, and they got none of those guys. They got Amari, who was good initially, but then injuries hurt him, and nothing worked out. And so you can't keep, if you get Durant, great, but chances are you probably won't. So it's going to take a lot of innovation on Phil Jackson's part to use this cap space. He's shown innovation to create it, and to change directions on the move. Initially they thought they could make the playoffs. Now he saw that wasn't going to happen. He did a good job of changing midstream, but now he's got to find a way to utilize that cap space. And let's face it, this is what he was brought in for, to go in front of a Marc Gasol, to go in front of a Rondo or an Aldridge or a Durant and convince them to come play for the guy with 11 championships.
It's going to be quite a job, and I think that the disaster this season has become is going to be working against him to some degree. All right, Broussard, thanks so much. Happy New Year. See you soon.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, guys.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
All right, it is our pleasure to welcome now the head coach at the University of Michigan. First time we've introduced him that way.
Yeah.
I get used to it. Here's Jim Harbaugh with us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Jim, Mike, how are you this morning?
Doing great. Good morning.
Good morning. Long time no talk. There's so many different places to go. I want to start with this. It was your old coach there at Michigan, Bo Schembechler, who once famously said, and interestingly this involved basketball coaches at the time, but it's a phrase people use all the time now, that he wanted a Michigan man to coach Michigan. To you, Jim, as an alum, and one who, as Mike said, grew up with your feet up on Bo Schembechler's desk when you were a kid, what does it mean to be a Michigan man?
Well, Michigan man or woman, great. To me, it's a great love for the University of Michigan. There's a selflessness there. It's, what can you do for the University of Michigan, not what the University of Michigan can do for you. It's a team-oriented approach and attitude that we all learned under the legendary coach Bo Schembechler.
And then, I have to believe, and Mike and I were just talking about it, that when you saw that the circumstances in San Francisco were going to be what they were, we'll get to that, and you knew that you were going to be looking for a new place. I'm sure at some point you sat down and made a list. You could stay in the National Football League, you would have had opportunities, or go back to college. And you write down a little list of pros and cons of the college job, which you know obviously from your experience before. What's the single biggest pro of being a college coach versus an NFL coach? And what's the single most difficult thing or the biggest con about a college job versus a pro job?
The very interesting thing, there are two things that jump to mind is I never like to compare. I never like to compare, a player to another player. I mean, it'd be like comparing Tom Brady to Peyton Manning. They're both great, and that would be number one. And when you compare, something or somebody gets diminished. They're both great. The second thing would be I didn't make a pros and cons list. I really didn't, and I know that's what somebody would usually do, but it was a decision that wasn't made from a pros and cons list. It was a decision that was made from the heart.
I certainly know a con on my list, Coach. It's got to be reading that compliance book now. I know you had to do it when you were at Stanford and San Diego, but holy smokes. You got that thing down pat yet?
You're getting there. Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to taking my recruiting test and, all the following the rules is, whatever line of work you're in. That's another lesson that we learned from Coach Bo Schembechler, that to win. If you have to cheat to win, then you haven't won. You've actually lost. So, and that's not just the letter of the rule, but the spirit of it as well.
Michigan's new head coach Jim Harbaugh joining us after parting ways with San Francisco. And listen, that we heard things going on during the year there and whatever, how that happened, it happened. But we always talk about this from a player's standpoint of, where you stand with the team, the writing is on the wall. We've heard all those kind of lines. So for you, when was the moment where maybe you went home and, you said to your wife, you know what, I don't think I'm going to be here next year. I think this is going to be it for me in San Francisco. When did that moment kind of hit you?
Well, I had a conversation with the owner and understood what the direction that the organization wanted to go, and but not to replow all that ground, because onto a great adventure here at the University of Michigan. And the number one thing I look at is had the time of my life. I mean, we'll be forever proud to have done the things that we did in San Francisco. The coaches, the players. I mean, going to be friends for life and allies for life, and just had great relationships that were made there. And now, 1 week into the job here at the University of Michigan, and we're plowing ahead. This is it's great, even better than I remembered it. So, had a great week. Want to have a great month. Want to have a great year.
Mike, Jim Harbaugh is with us, the coach of Michigan. Certainly we'll look forward to that. There is one player that you coached in San Francisco I would like to ask your perspective on, because Colin Kaepernick comes in, you make him your quarterback. He played so well, and then there were a lot of questions this year about whether he had taken a step backward, what some of the issues were. You know him better than anybody. In your view, what does Colin Kaepernick, what's the single biggest thing he needs to do to go to the next level, or whether that might be back to the level that he was at a year ago? What is Colin Kaepernick, what should he be working on to become a genuinely great NFL quarterback?
Well, I mean, I think he's great with a capital G, and he is an outstanding football player and great competitor, and talent, has that, tremendous effort, toughness, played every snap the entire season, and continues to develop. He is a shining star. He's a superstar in the National Football League.
So going on to Michigan, I was explaining my family going and ours with Notre Dame. When my brother went there in 1975, I was 11 years old. And at that point, I said I wanted to go to Notre Dame. My brother Bob went, Greg went, I went, my two sons went, my daughter swims there. So I had a long, obviously, relationship there, as you did with Michigan. So at 11, I knew I wanted to go to Notre Dame. When did you, whether it's when you had your feet kicked up on Bo's desk or what age it was when your dad was there coaching, did you say, and really, really say, this is the place I want to be?
Well, I mean, dreamed about it as a youngster. My dad coached at Michigan. So football Saturdays at the University of Michigan, those days were as good as Christmas. I mean, those were just, the memories are so thick that you got to brush them away. They're didn't know if you're good enough, though. You're a little kid, you're 9, 10 years old. You don't know if you're going to be as tall and as big as the guys that are your heroes out there in the field, like Rick Leach, and so as you started to grow up and get into high school, I thought, maybe I have a chance. Maybe I have a chance to play at a place like Michigan, and then to get a call and be a recruited athlete, and come back and play in Ann Arbor. That was a dream come true.
Mike, Jim Harbaugh, now back in Ann Arbor, the winningest program in college football. Obviously, and you're well aware, the last few years have not been that successful. So you go in there with a lot of high expectations. What is the first thing for a college football team, and you've done it, you did it at San Diego, you did it at Stanford. What's the single first thing you need to get accomplished to get things going in the direction you want them to go?
Well, we're going to have high expectations, and we have high expectations right now for tomorrow night's first team meeting. That's going to be a great thrill to be in front of the team. And the single most important and first thing is we're going to start building relationships, and that's what a team is, building relationships to accomplish a single goal, and that will take place tomorrow night, and it'll be one conversation at a time, and between everybody that's involved with our team. So high expectations, looking forward to it, and then it's high expectations for winter conditioning. We're going to lifting and running and then recruiting student athletes all across the country. Got a lot going on, but it's single biggest thing is those relationships, allies I call them, and friendships that are built and working on accomplishing our goals.
Yeah, winter conditioning. I remember those years finally. I'm sure you do too. The most I ever threw up in my life was during the winter conditioning. Can you expand upon that a little bit? Because that's one of, Michigan people are going nuts that you're there. I mean, as I said, the savior there, which I know you don't even want to hear. But you are going to go sit with the team tomorrow when there are going to be guys in that meeting who are going to say, maybe be a little worried, saying, as great as we have Jim Harbaugh as our coach, he didn't recruit me here. I'm not a Jim Harbaugh guy, and he's going to bring in his guys. So there's going to be trepidation. I know you talk about building relationships. Can you go a little further with it and just how you can kind of, massage that situation?
There's a great saying, you never get a second chance to make a great first impression. And I'm going into this not watching a lot of tape of the current team because I want to make our own evaluation and have everybody have a clean slate and a fresh start. And they are my guys. They're going to know that I'm in their corner and they're in my corner and we're in each other's corner. So that all starts this week and tomorrow night, and from there we're going to go have training table dinner and then study hall and make sure all our classes are set. We get off to a great start, but that's going to be, we're all going to be together making a great first impression, and away we go.
All right, so now let's get to the really important stuff here. You're on Twitter again. You're going back on Twitter at Coach Jim for UM. And the first thing the most recent thing you tweeted was happy anniversary to me and my lovely wife, Sarah. So we do wish you a happy anniversary. And your wife filmed one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. That fake PSA thing she did about you and the cat.
Wasn't she? She's a shining star.
It was hilarious.
It was great.
And so now everyone in the world watched as you were there on the sideline Saturday night rooting on your brother with Baltimore in Pittsburgh that you had on the khakis. Do you own any other pants?
Yes, I own other pants.
Do you not wear them in public for a reason?
It's gotten to the point where I save so much time a day knowing that I don't have to stand in front of the closet trying to decide what outfit to pick up. I think about 15 to 20 minutes a day, and that adds up day after day.
Are you?
See, Garlic doesn't take any time to pick out. How long do you spend picking out?
It's 4:15 in the morning. I walk into my closet; it's still dark, and just pick something out. Are you going to wear khakis on the sideline for Michigan games?
Yeah, probably.
and speaking of sidelines, how was it standing on the sidelines? Watching your brother in Baltimore win and play and win and go on and out to play New England, but for the first time, in the 4 years, being on the sideline as a spectator.
It was great, and I was so proud of my brother, as you can imagine, and getting to spend time with him before the game. But my son Jay's also there. He's a quality control coach. He's been working for the Ravens for 3 years, and I was so proud and happy watching him interact with the players and the coaches and do his duties during the game. He was up in the press box. and watch it at halftime. I was watching him the most, and as a father, it's about as good as it gets, and got on the bus after the game and rode with them out to the airport, and that's a memory I'm going to have the rest of my life. So it was a big thrill, and really happy for my brother John as well, and all the Ravens. They got a heck of a good football team. They're such a clutch team, and it'll be an exciting game this week.
Well, Jim, listen, I remember that for the story from the Super Bowl. Thank you very much for a lot of time here this morning. We appreciate it. We look forward to following you on Twitter and all of your exploits and all the other things that will happen, and it's going to be very interesting to watch. So congratulations.
There'll be a lot of football in there, too. There'll be a lot of football along the way.
Did you want to be in, or it's part of the gig? You have to be now, right? I mean, is that why you're on Twitter now? I mean, you just had to come along for that ride?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it when I was at Stanford, and I want to be able to communicate the Michigan message, and that's the plan.
Do you worry about punctuation? See, I don't, and Greeny yells at me all the time.
Punctuation is very important, yes.
I agree.
Right.
See, this is exactly grammar, punctuation, all this kind of stuff. He's a teacher now. He's teaching student
I know,
athletes.
but I mean, I was just, all right.
All right, Jim, we got to let you go. Thanks a million.
Great talking to you guys.
Happy New Year.
Jim.
The best of Mike and Mike.
I'll once again mention the Baseball Hall of Fame voting that we have working for you. This afternoon, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, they will announce this year's class for the Baseball Hall of Fame. I chose I believe there are 34 names this year on the ballot. I chose the 10 that I think are the most interesting, mostly the ones that I think will get in, plus the steroid guys. And I put them up on my Twitter page. You can go to @ESPN Greeny on Twitter. And then it's one of those where you retweet for yes, favorite for no. And I think and I give enormous credit to the Mike and Mike listeners and viewers, because I think the voting is really good. It's very legitimate. It's very representative of what I think the voting will be. The one thing I think everyone's missing is Tim Raines. Tim Raines is getting no love on my Twitter. That just goes to show you people don't remember Tim Raines. He was a terrific player. I don't know if he's going to get in or not. He deserves better than what he's getting in the voting right now. But our listeners, Mike, have Randy Johnson in by a landslide. They have Pedro in by a landslide. They have Smoltz in by a landslide. I believe all three of them will get in. Mike Piazza and Curt Schilling right now amongst our voters are just on the outside. So is Craig Biggio. I think those are three guys that have a chance. I don't think Schilling is going to. Let me rephrase that.
I don't think
Schilling is going to get in. I would vote for him. If I had a vote, I would vote. He would be my ballot if I were voting today. I would vote for Randy Johnson. I would vote for Pedro Martinez. I would vote for John Smoltz. I would vote for Mike Piazza. I would vote for Barry Bonds. I would vote for Roger Clemens. I would vote for Craig Biggio, and I would vote for Curt Schilling. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8? That's 8 names. I would vote for 8. You can vote for as many as 10. If I really were a voter, I would have looked at this a little more closely, and I might more seriously consider a few other names. But right off the top of my head, just looking at the list, those were the 8 I would vote for.
There's a name that you didn't put in that our ESPN people did.
Is Raines?
It was Raines. 17 ESPN voters, including the likes of our own Timmy Kirkshin and Pedro Gomez and others, Ian O'Connor, Gordon Eads, Jerry Krasnick. And so there's 17 that voted. So to get to 75%, you needed 13 of them to vote them in. Anything under that, they wouldn't have had the 75%.
Right.
These 17 ESPN voters, had 6 players make it in. Randy Johnson and Pedro Martinez, all 17 voted for him.
Okay.
Then next, tied with Smoltz is Tim Raines. Yeah. They each had 14 of the 17 votes.
Some people love Raines.
Right?
You talk to different voters. The people who like Tim Raines love Tim Raines.
And then the other who just had the 13 votes to get in, Craig Biggio and Mike Piazza. So they had those 6 in. Just on the next on the outside looking in, all with 9 votes, Bagwell, Bonds, Clemens, and then Schilling with 8.
I've always said this. If you have to look at the numbers, that's a major strike against. If you have to look at the numbers, to me, my inclination is to be leaning towards no immediately. A Hall of Famer should be someone you close your eyes, say the name. Is that guy a Hall of Famer? The answer should come back yes. So with me, Randy Johnson, yes. I don't have to look at the numbers. Pedro Martinez, yes. John Smoltz, yes. To me, Mike Piazza, yes. You don't have to look at the numbers. Mike Piazza was as good a hitting catcher as I've ever seen. I'm not old enough to have seen Yogi Berra. So, I mean, Johnny Bench, Mike Piazza, he was as good an offensive player at his position. I know he was a below-average defensive player, but he was too good a hitter, in my opinion, not to be in the Hall of Fame. I would vote for him. Bonds and Clemens are locks to me. Obviously, the reason they're not in and they're not going to get in, we all know what that is. I would definitely find a way to vote for them. That's me. And then the question marks are Schilling and Biggio.
And remember, Biggio just missed last year.
Biggio is the perfect example of someone you have to look at the numbers. Because if you just close your eyes and think about it, I don't think most people think of Craig Biggio as having been one of the greatest players that ever lived. If you look at his numbers, they are remarkable. His numbers are startlingly similar to Derek Jeter's, with one huge exception. They're all in the regular season. He didn't play the volume of playoff games. Derek Jeter is one of, if not the greatest postseason player that ever lived. So that's where Jeter separates himself from Biggio. And then Schilling, I tell you what, in my lifetime of watching baseball, and to me this is a big one, if you said hand the ball to anybody you want and have them go out and pitch a game that you need for your life, you need to save your life, Game 7 of a World Series, there aren't too many guys, not necessarily, he wouldn't be first, but there aren't too many guys I'd give the ball to before I give it to Schilling. In a really big spot, I would give it to him before I give it to many other people and who might have had better career numbers.
He's not getting in this time. He's
based upon his history, he's not.
He's not.
But I think he will eventually get in.
The guy I feel for, if he doesn't get in this time, is Biggio. 74.8%, and you need 75.
Missed by one vote, yeah.
And now you have at least 2, if not 3 locks. Now people are putting Smoltz in this class. Does he lose out because of that? Now he shouldn't, but who knows? So I think there'll be at least 3 and maybe 5. And remember, there's only been 5 voted in one time, and that was the first year this whole thing started back in 1936.
Right. Babe Ruth and Honus Wagner and Ty Cobb.
A couple of guys like that who were pretty good.
Yeah.
So do you think Randy's going to get the highest percentage
this year? Yes.
Do you think
or Pedro? I think Pedro. Who's not voting for Pedro Martinez?
I agree, but
if you're not voting Pedro Martinez into the Hall of Fame, what is your basis for not doing it? Same with Randy Johnson. How do you not vote for either?
But I think Randy gets the highest percentage. Don't you?
Yes, probably.
I don't think it makes sense. I don't think he threatens Seaver at 98.84%.
Probably not.
But I think he's in the upper 90s.
Well, how could he not be?
Yeah.
How does anyone look at Randy Johnson's career and not vote yes on him for the Hall of Fame? And same with Pedro.
I know.
So we asked you, starting at the beginning of the show this morning, and you came through by the thousands and thousands of people cast votes. We thank you. And you did a very, very responsible job of casting a vote. I picked what I think are the 10 most interesting and likely candidates to be named today for the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I put them each up for vote. And I have the final voting on each of the 10. I will start at the bottom.
Okay.
Jeff Bagwell received 35% of the vote. Barry Bonds received 43.6% of the vote. Tim Raines received 48.6% of the vote. Remember, you need 75 to get in. Roger Clemens received 51.7% of the vote. Curt Schilling received 61.3% of the vote. Craig Biggio received 67.1% of the vote. Mike Piazza received 68.2% of the vote. They did not get in. Those 7 did not get in. So when we turn in to the powers that be, Bud Selig, Rob Manfred, Dan Le Batard, and Buster Olney, our list, on behalf of Mike and Mike, there will be only 3 names on it to go into the Hall of Fame. With 90.2% of the vote, Pedro Martinez. With 94.4% of the vote, John Smoltz.
Wow.
And with 97.4% of the vote, Randy Johnson.
That's a great job by everybody.
I completely agree. Those are very reasonable numbers.
I am really surprised. I thought for sure they'd have 6 or 7.
Me too.
But 3. I think more than 3. The biggest difference there, especially from the 17 ESPNers that voted, is Tim Raines.
Yep.
They had Tim Raines actually tied for third as far as after Randy Johnson and Pedro Martinez, and our group didn't even have him in. Had him one of the lower ones. That one surprised me. The one I'm worried, and because Craig Biggio, 70, again, I can't say this enough, 74.8%. You need 75 to get in. That's what he got last year. And what if he doesn't get in this year? I mean, let me put it this way. If he doesn't make it, he ain't having 74.8%. It's going to be lower.
Yeah.
And so,
because Johnson and Smoltz and Martinez all went on the ballot this year, so that might cost others some votes because you can only vote for 10. That's the rule, is they can only vote for 10 guys. Now, Clemens and Bonds, are they ever going to get in? In your opinion, will they ever get in?
I have said all along that I think time will heal a bit, and eventually those players will get in. This is their third year on the ballot. I'm not ready to go away from that yet. I'm not ready to go away from it. They're still getting in the, 50 percentile. It's not like, guys that are getting such a low percentage under, 5% that they're kicked off the vote.
Like McGuire has fallen, tumbled.
Right. So they're still kind of hanging out up there to where half of the voters are thinking about it.
This has been the Best of Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio Pod Center. To hear more from Mike and Mike, log on to ESPNRadio.com and become an ESPN Radio Insider.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
Why do we snack? Hunger? Taste? Because we have nothing better to do? Well, people who snack on almonds not only have something better to do, they're doing it. Almonds are heart health for those with heart. Packed with energy to keep up with anyone. It's that one-of-a-kind crunch that promises to keep you in the game for a long time to come. California almonds. Crunch on.